Hello and welcome to the tennis podcast on women's semi-finals night at the Australian Open, a night that has seen Elena Rybakina and Aryna Sabalenka set up a meeting in Saturday's final. It is moments before midnight and you find us in Garden Square. It's a gorgeous evening and we're in the aftermath of the session that is tended to most reliably deliver drama at a Grand Slam over the years, the back-to-back women's semi-finals. But of course, this is the Dud Slam. So what we got was two straight setters, but that doesn't tell the whole story because a match accidentally broke out on the Rod Laver Arena earlier on tonight. Unfortunately, not for long enough to give us a deciding set, but we are feeding off crumbs at this point in the tournament. And Jessica Pegula, David, definitely gave us a little snack with her second set comeback against Elena Rybakina.
Yeah, but it really whetted the appetite for more, didn't it? And I was really enjoying her comeback. I loved the way she played against Amanda Anisimova yesterday. I think that's one of the best performances I've seen from her yesterday. I think we had others when she's mounted comebacks against Sabalenka, say at the US Open, things like that, where she just steps up to a probably a more talked about opponent who we assume has a bigger game, and that was the case today, and then retaliates. And I love watching her retaliate against players and use her movement and use those snapping ground strokes that sort of take the opponent by surprise. But it took such a long time for that to happen today against Rybakina. She didn't leave it quite too late because she managed to make a fight of that second set. She had 2 set points, but she didn't take them. And you've got to give enormous credit for Rybakina for kind of, I guess, choking or at least losing a forehand, but getting it back and winning anyway.
It feels like we've had something absolutely delicious dangled in front of us tonight and then just whipped away at the last moment. It's like we've been given a few Pringles, but not the tub.
And you want to just demolish the lot.
Yeah, because we've been so starved. Like it was like for half an hour there, it was awesome, and that's how tennis can be. We felt alive.
Yeah, I felt tension. I didn't know I could feel tension anymore after the last few days, and it was a real joy there for half an hour or so. And I do think what tonight's semi-finals have done is, ramped up the excitement for the final as well. Like we know that they can play good matches against each other. We've seen one on this court. So it has done that thing that the tournament has done all the way, which has been ever so slightly disappointing tonight, in terms of as a whole, in terms of what women's semi-final night can be. But
good things are coming.
Made you think, oh, good things are coming. Like there's just a constant tease and waiting for the good thing to come this tournament. But I did enjoy Pegula's resistance in that second set, and actually what I enjoyed about it was like knowing those two players. We'd seen last summer Rybakina lose a string of matches from having match points, and we'd seen Pegula post US Open get involved in these absolutely crazy matches where set points and match points were coming and going, and it felt like that context was here in this match tonight. And the Rybakina game, which had been so brilliant for most of this match in the night conditions, I think Pegula hadn't played in the night all tournament. I think she found that adjustment difficult, whereas Rybakina was just hitting through the court in such an effective way. But as David said, there was time for Pegula to find something, and she did, and she pressured Rybakina, and the Rybakina forehand fell apart, and then we were into a real situation of jeopardy, and I enjoyed it.
It was awesome from Rybakina tonight, though, wasn't it? Apart from that spell when the forehand deserted her, a disaster class, Matt called it on one of our WhatsApp groups. Bloody hell, she was good.
Yeah, so good. And like you do see the difference that the serve can make, compared to, for example, Anisimova yesterday for Pegula. Like there were little times where Pegula would get involved in a service game and Rybakina would just slam the door, like with a big serve. And her hitting was brilliant from the start, really. I thought Pegula was a little sluggish early on in a way that she just hadn't been against Anisimova. She was so sharp from the start of that match, whereas this did take her a bit more time. I do think it might have been an adjustment to the conditions. But, yeah, Rybakina was so good. I think the frustration will be for Pegula that twice she broke back in the second set and then immediately got broken again. It felt like she was never able to sort of break back and then hold and then really establish herself in the set. She was always kind of playing catch up in it. Now it has to be said, Rybakina played great games when Pegula did break back. Rybakina responded very well, but it did just feel like there was a little bit of frailty there that Pegula did a good job of trying to exploit, but just couldn't quite fully. And I think Pegula will rue a couple of missed forehands of her own in that tie break in the middle portion of it, and then a really curious decision to roll in the first serve on her first set point. Like, I don't quite know why she did that. Just rolled it into the Rybakina backhand. But other than that, I think you can't have too many regrets because of how good Rybakina was as a whole in this match.
And she's very good at processing this stuff, isn't she? Pegula is as disappointed as I'm sure she is. And I think perhaps the disappointment will be added to by the feeling that had she managed to get one of those set points, Pegula, she would have felt like the favourite to me in the third set, just because of how... Well, the fact that Rybakina had the 3 match points and failed to convert, and that frailty that was there to be tapped into, if she could have just really stamped down on that, I would have backed Pegula, I think, going into the third set. It's so tantalising.
Yeah. She'd have had to have a major reset because that forehand had gone for a while. She couldn't trust what was coming off the strings, and she was repeatedly over-hitting. And actually, I think maybe one of the regrets that Pegula will have is that, unlike yesterday when it seemed she was so set on attacking the Anisimova forehand, as good as that shot is at times, she just went at it and broke it down really, or broke the baseline game down in totality. Whereas today I didn't feel that was happening in the first set. But I also think that's probably because she wasn't trusting her own game. She didn't feel as good as she did yesterday. There can be lots of reasons why you don't feel as good. And I think a lot of it is because Rybakina just was hitting so cleanly. So many rallies where Pegula did play well, Rybakina still won them. And I think that mentally that was getting to Pegula a bit. You don't see much negative body language for her, but she was walking towards her team and there was a sort of despairing look in her face and features, as if to say, well, what can I do against this?
Yeah, like everything we said yesterday about Pegula being a great absorber of pace coming at her and being able to turn it back on an opponent and staying solid and deflecting it, like all of that is true. She's absolutely brilliant at that. She was having a much harder time doing that tonight against Rybakina's ball. Like, she kept saying weight of shot is too much. Like, I can't really handle it. And I don't you have to credit Rybakina there for that.
Is the Rybakina weight of shot greater than Anisimova's? I guess on the forehand it is, and on the backhand probably net about the same.
I think it's a bit different in as much. I don't know what it feels like, but I think generally speaking, Rybakina isn't having to try to hit the thing as hard all the time. Her natural stroke is just heavy and piercing and skidding and hard when she's playing well like that, and it's off the back of the big serve as well. So you probably never really feel like you're in charge. And the difference is, how do you extract the error? Unless the forehand goes off, which it did towards the end of the second set, she talked, Pegula, about the strides that Anisimova had made yesterday in terms of rally tolerance compared to the past. But I don't think that would even be a conversation point to have about Rybakina. I don't think there's ever been a question mark about her rally tolerance, because she's a great baseliner who doesn't miss much. And I think that's there's still a difference there. I think Rybakina has a more all-round, reliable, matured, full game. I think Anisimova will get better yet, but she's not at Rybakina's level yet.
And the serve that Anisimova doesn't have, maybe will never have.
No one else in the world has it.
Right, exactly.
It's the best serve when it's clicking
smooth,
like that.
Isn't it?
I mean, it has to be said. I would say today first serve, because actually Pegula really did a good job of taking advantage of the Rybakina second serve. But the first serve is such a weapon. She hits so many aces on it. She gets a lot of free points on it, even if they're not aces. And it does set her up. And I do think compared to Anisimova, Rybakina is just more sort of settled on court. I think the serve sets it up. But then also I do think she's a slightly better mover than Anisimova and slightly better at handling the slice, especially coming forward. And I do think a couple of times today Pegula did have success with the slice, but it was nowhere near as a reliable play for her to be able to just drop the ball short in a rally that she did so well yesterday against Anisimova. And I think Pegula, even if she was soaking up the Anisimova power, always felt like she had a play in the rally. Whereas I just think against Rybakina, she was doing a good job at times of really soaking up the power, but it always just seemed like she was on the back foot generally in the matchup, and that's what Rybakina's overwhelming smooth game can do to you.
And on the Rybakina serve, both today and yesterday against Świątek, she was serving it below 50%, which you generally consider to be a bad serving day, and I guess kind of is, but she wins such a high percentage of points on that first serve that it doesn't feel like she's having a bad serving day, because she's still at that low percentage. She's still dominating on serve more than anybody else would be on that percentage. But then also there is more upside to be had in her game. Imagine if she comes out in the final against Sabalenka and serves at 70%.
Yeah. Well, we've seen her thrash Sabalenka before, which is an extraordinary thought, isn't it? To think of a player that is capable of going on a tennis court and knocking Aryna Sabalenka off a court. We've seen it happen. The other thing I would point to as well is her return, which Pegula doesn't have a big serve, she doesn't have a bad serve, but if it was so often being rammed down her throat on the return, and without, again, an Anisimova comparison, without trying to hit the living daylights out of it. It's just her natural stroke is thudding.
It's nice going into this final, that we'll talk about Sabalenka in a moment, but it's nice going into this Rybakina-Sabalenka final knowing how good their matches against one another can look. Because I remember 3 years ago, ahead of their final, we were sort of excited about it from an individual perspective because they were both playing so well, but we were worried about how their games would match up against one another and whether they would ever be a rally longer than 2 or 3 shots. And obviously it turned into an absolute classic, and they've had more barnstormers since then. So I feel pretty good. Here I am promising a good tennis match on Saturday, but I feel pretty good about the potential for what that match could be.
Yes, me too. It's quite an odd head-to-head in that the last 9 matches they've played against each other, they've alternated winners. You have to go back to 2023 for the last time someone won 2 in a row in that rivalry, which was Rybakina. So I think it's been one of those that's been a little hard to grasp, right? Like, who's got the advantage here, because they keep going back and forth. A lot of Sabalenka's wins have tended to be 3 sets. It was only Wuhan last year where she actually did get a straight sets win, but I do think Rybakina was, she was chasing that spot at the WTA final. She probably wasn't quite at her peak then. Whereas Rybakina has beaten Sabalenka in ways that no one else has really done it. As David said, she's had a lot of straight sets wins. She had wins where she's blown her off the court in a way that no one else has really, and that's interesting because it brings into play the Sabalenka stat of not losing a Grand Slam match in straight sets since 2020. It's an extraordinary run that she's on, Sabalenka, but by far and away the most dangerous opponent for her to lose that stat is Rybakina because of what she's done to her in the past. So it is pretty tantalising. Obviously, it will be a dud because it's the 2026 Australian Open, but it is tantalising, and I am excited for it because there's so much in the matchup that I can't fully get my head around.
Sabalenka tonight, 6-2, 6-3 over Elina Svitolina, a match that reminded me of Alcaraz de Minaur from the other night.
Catherine, I wrote the same thing down while watching it.
Different weight classes, somebody flinging their body, heart and soul at every single ball, playing out of their skin. That turn of phrase that Alex de Minaur gave us the other night in that devastating press conference, I had to play out of my comfort zone and out of my skin. That was what I was thinking of while watching Elina Svitolina tonight, that sort of heavy feeling of, even though she was in a lot of, in that 6-2 opening set, she was in a lot of those Sabalenka service games, it still felt like a lost cause.
Yeah, as we were careering towards the end, and it looked like it was going to be 6-2, 6-2. I remember thinking, I write down, it doesn't feel like a 6-2, 6-2 match, because I think Elina Svitolina is actually playing some good stuff here. And at the start of the match, the TV channel interviewed Gael Monfils, her husband, who's sitting there as part of the team, and he's in the corner of the court, and he's saying, the idea is to dictate, to try to not let Sabalenka dictate. And of course, this is the new 2026 version of Elina Svitolina. It has been for the last couple of years. She was number 3 in the world in 2017, 2018, but she didn't play like that. She played much more counter-attacking tennis. Now she's going after the ball. And there was one rally, it must have been toward midway through this match, where they just stood there and they just traded forehands like two boxers trading right hands over the top and just testing each other's chin. And Svitolina was throwing her entire body into these balls, and she was not backing down, and she was going to hit it even harder. And she hit one right out of the middle of the strings but it went straight down the middle. Didn't get Sabalenka moving at all, just went straight down the middle. And you could see Sabalenka just thinking, yes, come on then, let's go for it. And she's even got a greater weighter shot. And like the de Minaur Alcaraz thing, she's got the revolutions on the ball as well, so she can hit that shot with a bit more clearance over the net, and it still bounds off into the distance after hitting the ground. That summed up the match in many ways to me. But I also feel as though the moment I thought Svitolina's got no chance was the moment that a hindrance call was called against Sabalenka, because I could tell, looking at Sabalenka, it pissed her off. And the moment she got pissed off, I thought she's going to be even more dangerous here.
It was Matt's favourite moment of the match. He came alive when the hindrance was called. Jumped out of his seat. Hindrance!
I do enjoy a hindrance call. It just adds drama. You don't get it that often, and therefore you see players have to respond to it, something that they would not have planned for at all, this extra element just thrown into a match. And I do think there were potentially times in Sabalenka's career where that might have thrown her off. I do think that she's developed mentally, I think, to be able to channel something like that. And yeah, I was with David. I did think that was bad news. Like when Nadal used to get called for the shot clock, and then he would make sure he would not miss the serve, and then guaranteed win the next point, just trying to prove a point. And yes, I mean, Sabalenka, she was trying to prove a point to the umpire. She was annoyed with the umpire. She gave you some extraordinary quotes, David, about what she was thinking about the umpire in that moment. Well,
yeah, because I wanted to confirm that I was right, that it had annoyed her and that it had actually energised her performance even more. And all I said in the press conference was there was a hindrance call early on in the first set, and I could see by the look in her face as soon as I said that she'd been waiting for it, because she wanted to get this out of her system. And I was about to say, does it make you play better if you feel you've had an injustice against you? I didn't get that far. I could see in her look in her eye. I said, well, what was your view of it? And she just went off and basically said, it pissed me off. I think it wasn't fair. I think she said it's a natural exhalation when I hit the ball. And I didn't think it was right. But any time she wants to give me a hindrance call in the future, please do, because it's going to make me play better. I'm curious to know whether you feel like the hindrance call was fair, by the way.
I did.
Yeah, I did. I can understand why she was annoyed about it, because, like, I think she does that quite a lot.
Yeah.
And she doesn't get called on it a lot.
What did she do exactly?
But I think that's a failing of officialdom, in inconsistency. Like, I think, according to the rules, this was the correct call.
Yeah, like, she does this thing, Sabalenka, where if she thinks a ball is going out after she's hit it, she adds on a little extra part of her natural grunt. So it becomes like two sounds, her grunt, when that happens. And on this ball in particular, she mishits it. And I think she's convinced it's going out in that moment, and she makes that extra sound. But while the ball is still in play, and Svitolina's got a play on it. And like Catherine said, I've become so attuned to watching Aryna Sabalenka that in the stadium in the moment, it didn't jump out to me as a hindrance, because I'm used to it from Sabalenka. It's something that she does a lot. Whereas the other hindrance we had earlier on in the tournament with Mukova celebrating mid-point before she'd hit a winner, that was very obviously a hindrance to me. This was a more subtle one, but I do think she made an extra sound as Svitolina was still about to hit the ball, and I can understand her frustration, because she's not normally called out for that, but I actually don't think you can have too many complaints. It strikes me as a bit harsh, but reasonable from the umpire.
My anecdotal theory that I can't prove, because I'm not sure anyone is nerdy enough to be compiling data on this, but I think hindrance calls are on the rise. I've certainly noticed more of them.
Yes, I think, yeah, anecdotally, yes, that feels the same to me, yeah.
If there's been a crackdown, it's all that Red Bull they're drinking. What else to say about this match? I mean,
we should say, like, Svitolina did go up a break in the second set, and
right at the start of
it,
set, and then consolidated that break. And Sabalenka did a sarcastic thumbs up to her box. She was definitely rattled, and Svitolina was playing out of her mind. But that's the problem, isn't it? She was having to play out of her mind.
Yeah, she was. Like, as you said, you can't do nothing with the ball against Sabalenka. She'll flatten you. If you try and force it, you will make errors. If you hit with a decent pace but not enough pace, you will just feed Sabalenka. Like, it was so hard to think of a game plan, really, for Svitolina. But she was doing everything she possibly could, as evidenced by that start of the second set. But it was always going to require Sabalenka to go a bit off, I think, for her to have a chance. And maybe, again, far easier said than done, but as David said, I did think a lot of Svitolina's shots were directed more or less at Sabalenka. Didn't feel like Sabalenka was having to hit on the run or move all that much.
I thought she had to move her, and I think she got too into this toe-to-toe slugfest, and you don't want to have one of those against Aryna Sabalenka. I mean, she's just got greater power, and she was playing well too, Sabalenka. She's been playing well for the last 2 or 3 rounds, hasn't she? And it's a different level to what we saw in the first week. The moment she got broken back for 2-2, I saw Monfils straight out of his chair trying to just reassure Svitolina, because I think she was in a similar position to Pegula. You're outmatched power-wise. You're trying to impose your game. You've got your plan, but your plan doesn't mean anything if you're just up against somebody who's overwhelming it like that. And they were actually quite similar, apart from the comeback at the end of the Rybakina Pegula match. They were actually quite similar.
They they've done for the last couple of years, haven't they? The Australian Open, they've put messages on the screen during these matches between Ukrainians and Russians and Belarusians to forewarn the crowd that there won't be a handshake. They also did an announcement of that tonight, a vocal announcement, which I think is a good call to keep the crowd informed about that. But they did it at 6.252.
Oh, did they?
Which felt a bit on the nose for Svitolina. It was very much...
It was like, this is about to end,
yeah.
everyone.
Oh, God.
Yeah.
That reminds me of all the years I was the communications manager on the ATP or at the Queen's tournament where, you know, it's the final, and when you got to sort of 6-2, 4-3, you'd bring the trophy into the corner of the court and just try and keep it out of view, but you knew you'd got to get out there quickly.
It's like how Emily Mauresmo always hovers in the corner of Philippe Chatrier.
It's like... I think it was Medvedev a few days ago had a funny line in his on-court interview after beating Marijan when he was 2 sets down. He said, I spotted you courtside, Mats. It was Mats Verlander doing the interview. He said, I spotted you courtside at the end of the third set. And I was thinking, God, it's a shame that Mats has chosen to watch one of my really bad matches. And then I realised that actually you were there because you were about to interview Marijan, unless I got a move on and mounted a comeback. It was a classic little quip from Medvedev.
We'll have time tomorrow to do a proper preview of this final between Rybakina and Sabalenka. What I will ask you now is which of the two have impressed you more individually this tournament?
I'm afraid to say I think it's pretty much a dead heat. I don't think I have an emphatic answer. I mean, I think certainly in week one Rybakina was the better player. I think in as much as in terms of form, but I think Sabalenka's caught up. I personally would put them about on a par at the moment.
For me, Rybakina has had the standout win, beating Swiatek. I think Sabalenka, there's been no match where I've thought Sabalenka might lose. She's been impressive. Her performances have been brilliant, but they've also been pretty much what I was expecting from her. This run she's been on in the second week, as David says, and Boko, Jovic, Svitolina, I thought she'd win all of those matches in straight sets. She's been brilliant, and I think what's impressed me most is the way she's flicked the switch from the first week to the second week and been in sort of title winning form now for a few days. But I was one of the people not convinced that Rybakina's end of season form would necessarily translate to Grand Slams, because we'd seen her underperform at slams in the last couple of years, really, and it just felt like she was delivering in those sort of 1 week events on tour, but trying to bring it to the majors felt like something that hadn't really been happening. But well, she's proved me completely wrong, because she's carried on her form from the end of last season. She's now on a, I think, 9-match winning streak against top 10 players. Like, it's a really brilliant run she's on. So it's hard because you're comparing them against the expectations of them that you have. But I would probably slightly lean Rybakina in answer to your question, but I would lean Sabalenka in terms of who I'm favouring for the title, if that makes sense.
Neither have dropped a set en route to the final, so it's one of those unstoppable force, immovable object situations. Something's got to give.
And the thing I wanted to shout out for Sabalenka is that she's reached 7 consecutive Grand Slam finals at the hard court slams now.
Wow.
That's matching the streak that Steffi Graf and Martina Hingis did. Monica Seles did reach 8 in a row, but they weren't consecutive slams because she had the time away from the sport. But this is a really incredible run of consistency, and 4 Australian Open finals in a row is the kind of thing that greats do, right? Greats have a slam that they always show up in and dominate and put together streaks and feel like the person to beat. And we've had Iga Swiatek do that at Roland Garros of this generation, and Sabalenka is doing it right now in Australia. She'd already been doing it, but just reaching another final just really cements it, I think.
You were in Sabalenka's press conference, David. She was asked about the rumoured return of Serena Williams, which has put the cat amongst the pigeons today. Not amongst my pigeons, but some pigeons have some cats amongst them.
Yes. I think Aryna Sabalenka, well, she wasn't committing a particular view to it, other than whatever makes her happy, I hope she does. But I also, I dare say, Aryna Sabalenka would love it if Serena Williams did come back, because I think she would love to take her on. But yeah, it is interesting, isn't it? This was an interview that Serena did on the Today programme in America.
The Today Show. The Today programme is a highbrow Radio 4 show in the UK.
True, well put. This is maybe not quite the same. But that having been said, I really quite enjoyed the interviewer's style of just not letting her off the hook and repeatedly saying, "Are you coming back? You've signed up to the drug testing program again. Where you have to show your whereabouts and all that sort of thing. Are you coming back?" And she was refusing to basically answer it. She was trying to get out of having to answer it, and she was trying to sort of joke her way through it. And then the interviewer kept saying, "Well, you're not saying no. Is that that's a maybe, I think." And she was trying to get out of it and not say anything. But she certainly didn't say, "No, I'm not coming back." So maybe she is. We'll find out.
I will believe it when I see it. I don't want to piss on any bonfires, but I don't know. She's got something to promote, hasn't she? So the speculation is publicity, and publicity is good for her.
Yeah, I'm certainly not about to assume that she's definitely coming back, but she might, I guess.
It's also just another classic example of sort of anything Serena does making such big news, because this was essentially the in-person form of what she did on Twitter a few weeks ago when it was all sort of announced. She's not going to announce this except on her terms if she is coming back. She was quick to play it down on Twitter. She was trying to play it down in this interview. To me, there was no news today, and yet all I'm hearing about is Serena Williams, and that is the sort of effect that Serena has and probably wants. Let's see, and let's wait for Serena herself to say something.
Yeah, all she did was say, "I'm not prepared to shut this down entirely because you all talking about it is good for me."
But that is part of journalism, isn't it? Is to...
Oh, absolutely.
Got no problem with the asking.
No, but to ask the question, and if you don't get a no, then that's quite different to...
I mean, to be fair, that is what they do on the Today programme.
Absolutely.
Maybe not that different after all. Folks, that is it for part 1. Do join us in part 2, though, for a change to the regular programming, because part 2 is where we'll have Sensation of the Day. But first, an important word from our lovely sponsors of this and every episode of the Tennis Podcast throughout this 2026 Australian Open. It is, of course, Steve Furgal's International Tennis Tours, the premium hospitality and experience provider, and an official ticket and travel package provider for Roland Garros 2026.
Yeah.
Where Jannik Sinner's going to be going for a career slam. Will he be chasing Carlos Alcaraz, or will he be trying to get one over on Carlos Alcaraz?
Ooh.
We don't know. What we do know is that with Steve Furgal's, you can do Roland Garros the official way, which means you're guaranteed peace of mind and a faff-free experience at one of the most beautiful sporting events in the world. And Tennis Podcast listeners can now save 10% on Roland Garros ticket packages, and you can also add on premium hospitality options as well. All of it secured the official way. Just go to tours4tennis.com/podcast. That's tours4tennis.com/podcast, and use the code PARIS10 for that brilliant 10% discount. Welcome back to part 2 of today's tennis podcast, where we have moved up sensation of the day. It's jumped up the order. All will become clear, folks. We have, I think, 3 strong contenders for the title today. I give you Jason Kubler and Mark Polmans, whose train keeps on a-rolling. They've beaten Luke Johnson and Jan Zielinski 6-2, 3-6, 6-3 to reach the men's doubles final, where they'll play Christian Harrison and Neil Skubsky. They beat Granollers and Zeballos today, and also an assist here from Madison Inglis in the coaching box for Kubler and Polmans, who was having a stressful time, and she had a camera on her throughout, and there's lots of clips doing the round. She was living and breathing every point by the looks of things.
Fun that they've both played that role during this tournament.
Very fun.
For the other.
Very fun, yeah. I really like that. So Kubler and Polmans are my first submissions. And just staying with the doubles for a moment, you two, well, I was having a nap this afternoon. David and Matt were on the sofa trying to wake me up from my nap, watching the doubles team that David is calling Defani. You're trying to make Defani happen.
Which is a very un-David thing to do. Well, but he's committing to it.
That tells you just how big a deal they are in my life, doesn't it?
Well, they lost today, David.
I know, but they were just so good for a while.
Yes, they were.
They were winning for a bit.
They lost a very tight opening set in which they were down and had got it back, but then lost it. And then they were great in the second set, and they had the momentum at the start of the third, and then it started raining, and the roof had to close, and
that was the turning point.
That was the turning point.
They don't like the rain. They don't like the roof.
And by the way, check out match point in this one. One of the crazier match points you'll ever see. Krunic and Elena won it despite having a dead net cord against them. The way they got up to that was remarkable, and then the rally really carried on quite a long time after that. It was real scenes, and yeah, look, we're not worried about the Stefani Dabrowski result here.
It's a good start, isn't it?
It's a good start.
They're finding out their chemistry.
Together.
We do love the way they just charge the net together on anything. It doesn't matter what the approach shot is, then they just trust their volleys and overheads. Makes for a very fun spectacle. But actually, their opponents it wasn't, that match point was incredible, but their comeback in general, I didn't see it coming. They really played well.
They're on quite a roll this tournament, Krunic and Danilina. I think they're going to take some stopping in that final. They'll face Elisa Mertens and Zheng Shuai in the final.
And it did feel a little bit to me like Shibahara and Zvonareva got a bit screwed over by some scheduling there. I mean, they were on court to about 1:15 yesterday and had to come back. I think it was not before 4 p.m. today, something like that.
Yeah, it's tough.
We haven't talked much about late night scheduling.
The matches have been so crap.
Thankfully,
the upside of that is that
the flip side is the matches have all been terrible, and I probably would have preferred to have ranted about some late nights. But yeah, that was kind of the first one all tournament where I thought, that's a very tough turnaround now.
In the wheelchair events today, we watched the conclusion of a thriller in the men's doubles between Gustav Fernandez and Tito Oda and Alfie Hewitt and Gordon Reed. Fernandez and Oda getting the better of that one in the match tiebreak. It was there was some drama.
Yeah, and that hurt Hewitt and Reed, didn't it? You saw it at the end of them because they're so used to winning the doubles championships at the Grand Slams. Hewitt is a fantastic singles player. They're an even better doubles pair, and another example of just how special Oda is as a talent. I think that, and he didn't do it on his own, but he is taking over the men's wheelchair sport really at the moment, and this felt big actually.
Yeah, again, going to talk about a net cord. There was one in that match tiebreak that felt pretty decisive. It felt like it would maybe help Hewitt and Reed, but Oda got there, hit a remarkable forehand off of it, and then just you'd think like, okay, he's out of the point now because he's had to go all the way over the court to get that net cord, and then he just sort of reappeared at the net and put it away with a sort of high backhand smash, and his ability to just change the feel of a match by just doing something really special like that.
He's one of those players, isn't he, that creates a force field on a tennis court. He's got his own kind of gravity around him. It's quite something. He's in the singles semi-final where he'll face his doubles partner, Gustav Fernandez. Alfie Hewitt is also into the semis. He'll face Martin de la Puente. He beat his doubles partner today in the quarterfinals. He beat Gordon Reed. In the women's, Didier de Groot made a statement with a 2-2 win over the second seed, Aniek van Koot. So this is getting interesting now for Didier de Groot. She'll face Wang Zhiying in the semi-finals. The other semi-final will be Li Zhaohui against Yui Kimiji. And in the quad events, now here we have our second contender for sensation of the day. Heath Davidson, the Aussie, he and Andy Lapthorne are into the quad wheelchair doubles final after a 10-6 match tie-break win over Donald Rampardi and fellow Australian Jin Woodman. So Heath Davidson is my nominee here because not only did he win the doubles alongside his British partner, he lost the singles today, getting double bageled by Guy Sasson. So Heath Davidson is, I mean, look, it hasn't been all bad, but I think he would enjoy sensation of the day after a double bagel. But the problem is there's a third entrant.
Oh, yeah.
And this brings me, David, to the media 1 point slam.
Right.
Matt, tell us what happened in the media 1 point slam. The people that aren't on Instagram want to know.
Oh, guys, I flamed out in round one. Of course I did.
What happened?
Well, it was an extremely fun morning, wasn't it?
It was. Well done, Tennis Australia.
Yeah, we all got onto site at 10:45, went down to the National Tennis Centre and to the indoor courts. Obviously, I should say open the roofs at this point. But it was great to be playing on courts that we've seen the top players practicing on. You had your sign.
I had my sign.
One side said the time for talk is over, and one side said let's go, Senor Roberts.
Yeah.
A real if you know, you know.
Yeah.
And
I was very pleased with it. I bought marker pens from the shop.
Your joint support was very, very welcome and appreciated, making all that effort to come here. We did some drills to start with. We hit some forehands.
Yeah, you say drills, I say faff.
And I was playing...
Didn't get out of bed early to watch a bunch of journalists do drills.
And then we did some champions and challengers, little doubles, practiced some points. I was playing well. I was feeling it. I was feeling quite good. I was hitting through the ball. Things were good. Then we got told that the event was happening. The 1 point slam was about to happen. And suddenly it all sort of went by in a flash. There were 3 courts. We were separated by our portion in the draw onto the various courts. And I'd had a peek at the draw, a draft draw.
There was a
beforehand.
PDF, guys.
Yeah. And I thought I was playing someone who I didn't know.
You took it better than I expected, actually, the fact that it was a PDF.
Yeah, and like...
But it at least looked
when
organised.
Was the draw done? How was it done? There were a lot of questions.
But there was at least a sense of order with the PDF that we saw.
Yeah, but clearly there were a lot of no-shows.
Right, the PDF got ripped up,
ripped up, reshuffled, 60 seconds notice. I'm told I'm playing Jill Tan. And I know Jill. We know Jill. She's lovely. So I thought, right, okay, I'm playing Jill Tan. The tactic was clear. She had been talking to me about a week ago saying, Matt, my backhand's crap. I got a really good forehand, but I got no
I saw her forehand
backhand.
in the drills because I was forced to watch the drills. And she's got quite a forehand.
Quite a forehand.
Yeah.
So I thought, right.
Really heavy topspun, great shot.
So, right, I've got knowledge here. I'm gonna try and use that. Then, of course, we go into the rock, paper, scissors.
Which David and I weren't even aware this was... It had all become so chaotic so quickly. David and I didn't even know you were in the rock, paper, scissors situation.
Right. Well, I got a win in the rock, paper, scissors. And then I had my dilemma. And despite everything that I'd thought I'd learned on the practice court... The days and
days of discussion we'd had about this exact scenario.
When I was thinking, OK, I'm going to serve... I bottled it in the moment and I let Jill Tan serve.
Oh dear.
So we're the first ones to play on our court.
You were hoping for double fault, weren't you, Matt?
I absolutely was. Sorry, Jill, but I was. And look, Jill's reaction, she looked terrified at having to serve. I thought I'd made the right decision.
But you know what she was thinking? She was thinking Joanna Garland.
And thinking... Matt's nervous.
Yeah.
He's made me serve. Yeah, I know. I made a right mess of it. Anyway, I wasn't thinking that after 3 aborted ball tosses from Jill. I was thinking, I've made the right decision here. But then, look, you have to credit your opponent, and Jill found a lovely first serve. I hit a forehand return to the backhand, hoping for an error.
Was she telling lies about this backhand?
It stood up. The backhand stood up. She retrieved it devilishly short in the court. It caught me out. I had to sort of sprint forward. Returned it again to the backhand.
Nice little dink on the forehand.
Yeah.
Nice little dig.
Yeah, not bad.
It was low.
And then I had a decision to make about whether to stay at the net or go back. I did the wrong thing. I went back a bit. I probably should have stayed at the net, but I thought...
You were in no man's land.
I was totally in no man's land. I got caught. Then the ball comes to my backhand, and the damn thing I've been working on for the last 12 months is hitting a blooming topspin backhand, and I can do it. I can hit a good topspin backhand. And I just bottled it again, and I went for the slice, and I got it horribly wrong and sent it wide, and that was the point over.
What a waste of a good pair of shorts.
His championships died.
Yeah, remember last year when Madison Keys said... she said, even if I lose this final, I'll feel good because I know I played the right way. I lost playing the wrong way, which is just the worst.
It does... Obviously, I still haven't played in a one-point slam myself, but I felt that bit closer to the experience today than even my previous 2 one-point slam experiences. And my God, it's just over so quickly.
Oh,
I could barely get the camera up to film, and it was like, it's over. He's lost the point.
All that build-up.
Yeah, that alarm for nothing.
Sign.
It's just gone.
Sign was in the bin 5 minutes later.
And look, shout out Jill. We love Jill. I was a bit annoyed when she then double faulted in her next match.
Bit annoyed.
That's what
Said you'd been hustled.
opponents do that against people like you, Matt. You see, they up their game.
That's a very positive way of looking at it.
So all of which is to say, our third entrant for Sensation of the Day today is Jill Tan.
She's got my vote.
So we have Heath Davidson, we have Jill Tan, and we have Jason Kubler and Mark Polmans with an assist from Madison Inglis. David, how are you voting?
Just remind me what Kubler and Polmans did again?
They reached the men's doubles final.
I think I'm probably going to go with that.
See, they're in last place.
I'm going Jill, so you've got the casting
they're
vote,
in last
Catherine.
place for me. If David...
Just reached the final of the doubles,
David,
last place.
If you had said Heath Davidson, I might have voted with you.
Got double bagels.
But out of Kubler and Polmans and Jill Tan, I'm going Jill Tan.
For winning 1 point against Matt Roberts.
Yeah, when you
on
put
an
it like that.
unforced error.
She got in his head.
She did. She absolutely did. And we should shout out Augustin, who won the media 1 point slam. People have been asking who won.
Yeah.
Look, it might be a scandal.
Might be. He's too good.
He's very good. He's played college tennis.
Yeah. He was clearly too good.
You can make up your own minds about whether that's in the spirit of the media 1 point slam. You will feel how you feel.
Yeah.
He wouldn't be allowed to be sensation of the day, for instance.
Exactly.
No, exactly too good.
He's also French.
Look, and he played well. He got his serves in.
Yeah, look, he was
awesome.
A
worthy win. It was another tournament and no upsets.
He was too good.
Yeah, he was very good. Yeah.
Well done, Augustine.
And we should shout out Matt Futterman for winning his point, which
and
was
Simon Briggs.
Fantastic.
Briggs
Simon Briggs
did it
retrieved
in
an underarm serve.
Yeah, he got underarm served.
And Futterman was just outstanding.
Yeah.
And Charlie Eccleshare was very sporting.
But he regretted. Is it sporting if you regret being sporting afterwards?
He was hoping his opponent would overturn
it. Anyway, it was a lot of fun. It really was, and I hope we can do it all again next year.
I'm so motivated, which is going to make it even worse. But no, I've got to get out of this defeatist mindset.
I think you need a sports psychologist.
Pam's, big into mindset.
And Amanda Anisimova offered to help you with your backhand. So
she has, in the Instagram comments.
Yeah, it's an overall
contract,
win.
As far as I'm concerned.
I would say.
Binding.
Right, that's it for part 2. We'll be back in part 3 to look ahead to tomorrow and the men's singles semi-finals. Welcome back to part 3 of today's tennis podcast, where it's time to look ahead to what we'll have tomorrow. Men's singles semi-finals day that kicks off with the mixed doubles final at midday on the Rod Laver Arena. Contestants for sensation of the day, Olivia Gadecki and John Peers, the wild cards, taking on Kristina Mladenovic and M. Guinard. What is Manuel Guinard? I knew that. The unseeded French pairing. Then the day session men's singles semi-final, not before 2:30, is Carlos Alcaraz against Alexander Zverev, and then the night session semi-final is Novak Djokovic against Jannik Sinner. It is all juniors on the second court tomorrow. You've got girls singles, boys singles, and some girls doubles. And the Kia Aryna tomorrow is the place to go for the wheelchair matches. Really great wheelchair matches. You've got Yui Kamiji in action. You've got that Gustav Fernandez against Takito Oda match. You've got Heath Davidson and Andy Lapthorne back in quad wheelchair action. That's the doubles final tomorrow. And you've also got the women's wheelchair doubles final and the men's wheelchair doubles final. So you've got Takito Oda in action twice on the Kia Aryna tomorrow. In terms of the men's singles semi-finals that we have tomorrow, Alcaraz, Zverev, Djokovic, Sinner, how strong a case can either of you make for an upset of any kind?
Well, I mean, I do think this is a weird tournament, and weird things might happen. I do think Zverev's beaten Alcaraz here before, 2 years ago, and he came out, he did it with a big game, he served brilliantly, served lights out, he was bold from the baseline. He kind of took a little bit of that Murray mentality against Nadal all those years ago of, I ain't going to beat this guy by playing my normal game. I'm going to have to hit out. And he hurt Alcaraz. But Alcaraz also did have a terrible, terrible first 2 sets. I mean, he was awful in the first 2 sets. You might struggle to remember how bad he was. And I'd be very surprised if he was like that tomorrow. I think he could have a spell like that because, we saw it in the Dimonor match. 3-love playing out of his mind is suddenly 3-all and deuce on his own serve. So I think he could definitely lose a set. I think he could lose 2, but I'd be surprised if he lost. I'd be surprised if he didn't win. And Sinner is a heavy favourite against Djokovic. I expect him to win, but I am reserving in the back of my mind that Djokovic is a 10-time champion, capable of the most extraordinary great things, and maybe there's one more left in him. So that's my case for 2 upsets. But I don't actually think, despite the fact that I said Alcaraz wouldn't reach the final, based on what I've seen with my own eyes since then, I believe he will reach the final.
Yeah, it's quite interesting, isn't it, that the 2 guys trying to cause the upsets. One, you've got Zverev, who the reason you think he might be able to is that he's in really good form and he's playing well. The reason, the big case you would have against him is sort of history. And, okay, has got that win here against Alcaraz, but, you know, he doesn't have an amazing history of, like, showing up in these sorts of matches and causing real problems to the very, very best players in the world. Like, whereas Djokovic is the opposite. History's on his side, and that feeling of, what if he can tap into that? What if the experience comes in? But his problem in the last round was his form was bad, and he was pretty much out of the tournament were it not for Musetti's unfortunate injury. So what do you give more weight to? I feel like the more likely upset is Zverev over Alcaraz. It is an odd head-to-head. It's 6-all. It doesn't feel like 6-all to me, their head-to-head, because I think Zverev won a couple of matches early before Alcaraz was the famous Carlos Alcaraz. And then a couple of his wins have been at the ATP finals, you know, in those tricky conditions for Alcaraz and great conditions indoors for Zverev. But then he does have 2 wins at slams against him. But I just think Alcaraz is such a different prospect now at slams. He's won so many consecutive sets against people not named Jannik Sinner at slams. Like, I just have such confidence now in Alcaraz in a way that I didn't a couple of years ago when he played Zverev to quite the same extent. So, you know, the case for Zverev is that he's playing well, and he's come into some of these matches in the past not playing well. But this time he actually is, and with that serve he can keep it close, I think, and then it's about moments, you know. But I'm backing Alcaraz, and I'm definitely backing Sinner. I think it would take an all-timer from Djokovic to pull out the form he needs, which I think is more likely to happen under the night conditions. I do think there was something about those day conditions that really didn't click with Djokovic the other day against Musetti. But even so, like, for him to do that against this Jannik Sinner and that ball speed and that intensity off the ground and the movement, I'm just not sure Djokovic can do the things he wants to do to quite the same extent anymore against Sinner. Like, Sinner's beaten him 5 times in a row. And I'm expecting an Alcaraz-Sinner final here.
Yeah, me too. I would be really shocked if Novak Djokovic won that match tomorrow. I can't believe I'm saying that here. There's always that fraction of your brain that says it's Novak Djokovic. I'm prepared to eat my words. But unfortunately, I've had the chance to watch back that moment from the press conference yesterday that we discussed on the pod, because it's gone so viral today in the way that clips from press conferences so often do now, you know, with the caption, journalist gets owned by insert tennis player here. And look, I think the question was entirely legitimate to Novak Djokovic. I think Djokovic handled it in a very, very brittle way. And I think that was an insight into Djokovic's mental state, quite frankly. Like, that's what I take from that moment from the press conference yesterday. Not that was a disrespectful question from the journalist in question. Like,
like almost like the sense that he's feeling like people are going to forget about how great he was because he's likely to take a bit of a hammering in a couple of days' time.
Remember, I've won 24 of these, and we will. Like, he's the greatest male player of all time.
Remember.
Like, we will and we do. You don't need to insert it into every question to know that we're thinking that. But exactly, like, that is what it makes me think. And that's how I feel about that match. And I share all of your thoughts about Zverev against Alcaraz. And the other problem Zverev and everybody has against Alcaraz is, you know, Zverev is great at best of 5 set management, but you've got to do it in 4 against Alcaraz, unless you're Matteo Berrettini in 2022. Like, that's such a problem.
It is, but of all the players out there, I think Zverev's the one who doesn't fade at the end of 5 set matches. I think he has in the past when he's had cumulative.
Yeah, he did in that French Open final, didn't he? But he had a lot of matches.
But I don't think, you know, there are some people that Alcaraz just outlasts because he's physically so much better and stronger. I think he's going to have to outplay Zverev, but then I also think he will.
Okay, well, we'll be back with a podcast at the end of it all tomorrow evening, and I think Charlie Eccleshare is going to join us on the show tomorrow. Mustachioed Charlie.
Hooray.
He's been causing quite a stir on our Instagram. There's Charlie and his new moustache. Hello to Gus, our lovely mascot. I can't believe Gus gives us a new photo every day. What an absolute treat.
Very good of Gus.
Gus today has an I can't tell if it's a trick of perspective or whether that is an absolutely enormous tennis ball that Gus has in her mouth, but it might be one of those big ones that you get for getting autographs signed. I don't know, but it's a lovely photo and we love Gus. Hello to Bodie, still on 0 points, Bodie. Hello to Maisie and to Roger. Hello to Greg, Chris and Jeff, our top folks and executive producers. Matt, let's have some shout outs.
We have Pauline Pelletier. I don't know whether I've sort of francophoned that up, but
I'm sure Pauline will enjoy it
in Virginia.
We had another Virginia recently, didn't we? Because I had to say Virginia Wade. Well, I'll say Virginia Wade, but I'll also say Pauline Parmentier.
Exactly.
Yes.
Which Pauline herself shouts out.
Most excellent. Hi, Pauline.
Hello, Pauline. Lovely stuff.
And Pauline is a big Jasmine Paolini fan.
Oh, we all...
Never
which she says is a bit like Pauline Paolini.
Oh, yeah, we'll give you that.
Yeah.
Hope you enjoyed Matt's tennis podcast meets with Jasmine Paolini. I can still hear Paolini's chuckle echoing in my ears at Matt asking her whether she would consider an underarm serve inspired by Sara Errani. It's just such a hearty chuckle.
We've also got Ted Kurth from Chicago.
Hello, Ted.
Right, Ted. Like Ted Tinling.
Oh, yes.
That is what Ted says.
Hey!
Ted Tingling, the icon, Ted's given us Ted Schroeder, who won the 1949 gentlemen's singles at Wimbledon.
Oh.
Excellent.
And Ted says, I recently attended the premiere of the new play about Billie Jean King in Chicago and was pleasantly surprised to discover Billie Jean herself sitting several rows behind us.
Oh, so cool.
Isn't that great?
I've heard about that play. I would like to be able to see it. Could it please come to the West End?
Let's manifest.
Yeah, absolutely. Ted, that's so great. Thank you.
And finally, we have Alex Green.
Oh,
hey, hi,
hello, Alex.
We know Alex.
One of the many people that is beating me in various different competitions.
Yes, Alex says, I've been a listener since 2018 and loved every episode. Oh. I've taken part in the newsletter predictions a couple of times, including, all the slams this year, because Alex has taken the leap and joined the Fantasy League.
And we love that, Alex.
Yay.
Very, very welcome addition to the Fantasy League. Fun.
Absolutely. And Alex, like Alex de Minaur.
Exactly.
Yes. Who deserves another mention, given he can't get sensation of the day.
He does. Pauline, Alex and Ted, thank you ever so much for being friends of the Tennis Podcast. If you'd like to become a friend, then the link is in our show notes. It gets you access to all of our bonus episodes, including our archive of bonus episodes, which includes our Tennis Relived special on Ted Tinling, which is one of our very favourites, actually. That was from last year, so do look that up if you're a friend. It also gets you access to The Barge, our wonderful community platform that kind of warms our hearts every day, ad-free listening, Hannah's column, anything else? What am I missing?
Well, included in the bonus episodes are Grand Slam review shows, which I bet we're really looking forward to reviewing this Grand Slam.
I want to know what the other people we know
I haven't
think
been
of
using
it.
that as a tease.
No. But it'd be great next week, bonus content.
The link is in our show notes if any of that sounds good. We are part of the Athletic Podcast Network, and do check out their live coverage, which started from tonight. They're doing live coverage of all of the singles matches from today onwards. They'll be back for the men's singles semi-finals tomorrow, the women's final on Saturday, and the men's final on Sunday. So do check that out. It's very good. We will be back tomorrow after those two men's singles semi-finals. Will I be eating my words? Only time will tell. Thanks for listening. We'll speak to you tomorrow.